The final plea. The crystalline towers of Araxis Prime, once radiant emblems of hope and advancement, now lay shattered beneath a blood-red dusk. Smoke coiled skyward from a tapestry of impact craters scarring the capital, a grim echo of 3 relentless weeks under siege. Overhead, Vorath warships hovered in low orbit, black silhouettes of doom, barely blurred by the ash-thickened skies. Deep beneath the ravaged surface, in the innermost tier of the emergency bunker, High Chancellor Tellin gazed at tactical readouts with empty eyes. The Aryan defense forces, never formidable, had been utterly broken. Their allies, nations bound by ages of trade and shared diplomacy, had turned their backs, one after another, when the Vorath ultimatum arrived. "We regret we cannot participate in this conflict," they all replied, relief poorly disguised. The message rang loud and clear. "Better the Aryans suffer than us." "Chancellor," came First Minister Varu's voice, slicing through Tellin's haze. "Evacuation ships report only 30% full. The people refuse to leave the cities." Tellin nodded faintly. No surprise. Aryans were inherently communal. Proximity to kin and ancestral lands reinforced neural pathways. The concept of leaving their homeworld was unthinkable, worse perhaps than death. "The sanctuary colonies have fallen silent," she murmured. "Even if we could evacuate them all, I doubt anyone would take us now." The bunker quaked as another orbital strike landed nearby. Dust drifted from the ceiling as lights flickered before stabilizing. "We've tried everything," Varu said, hoarsely. "Every envoy, every treaty, every neutral state. None will face the Vorath." Silence claimed the room, punctuated only by beeping monitors and distant tremors. The Aryans were a peaceful race, their society centered around knowledge, beauty, and galactic accord. For millennia, they had trusted diplomacy and prosperity to safeguard them. They had been mistaken. "There is one route we haven't tried," said a quiet voice from comms. All eyes shifted to Kira, the council's youngest member, freshly graduated and appointed only days before the invasion began. "The humans," she said, steady gaze locked on Tellin. The word hung in the air like static. "Humanity, newest entrants to the Galactic Concord, achieving FTL travel only 3 decades prior. A mystery. They had joined the Concord but kept largely to themselves, forming few alliances, conducting minimal trade. They have no reason to help us," Varu objected. "No treaty, no obligation. But no agreement with the Vorath either," Kira countered. "And they haven't refused us because we haven't asked." Tellin frowned. "What do we even know about them? Can they stand against the Vorath? Do they have the power?" No one replied. Unlike most species who displayed technological might on entry to the galactic community, the humans had been reserved. Sparse embassies, modest commerce, little discussion of Earth or military scale. Some believed it was due to weakness, a species still maturing. Others whispered bleaker theories, that the humans were hiding something. "We've got nothing left to lose," Kira said at last. "Our world is burning. If there's any chance at all, we must try." Tellin stared back at the tactical feed. A new sector of the capital glowed red, overwhelmed by enemy troops. Kira was right. They were out of time. "Send it," she ordered. "Bypass diplomacy. Speak plainly. Tell them everything. Tell them, we're being annihilated." The communications officer sprang into motion. No decorum. No protocol. Just a simple broadcast. A cry from the edge of extinction. "We are the Aryans. The Vorath Empire is erasing our world. No others stand with us. If you can help anyway, please respond. This is our final transmission." It was sent through every frequency they could access, fully aware the Vorath would intercept it. But it no longer mattered. Only survival mattered. Hours passed. The bunker shook again and again as strikes drew closer. Even the thick reinforced walls trembled. Systems began to fail one by one. The end crept closer. "Chancellor," the communications officer called, voice tight with disbelief. "We're receiving a reply. It's from Earth." The command center froze. Tellin straightened, ignoring the ache of sleep-deprived muscles. Put it through. The holographic feed shimmered to life, displaying a human face. A woman, Tellen guessed, though her grasp of human dimorphism was limited. The figure wore a plain dark uniform unadorned by excess insignia. "I am Admiral Helena Chen of the United Earth Defense Force," the human began without ceremony. Her tone was composed and precise. "We received your distress signal. We've confirmed your situation. Help is on the way. Please transmit all Vorath fleet positions and your remaining defensive assets." Tellen blinked. No condolences, no hedging, no talk of trade or reward, just a simple confirmation. Help is coming. As if that were the natural course of things. "Admiral," Tellen managed at last, we're grateful. But you must understand the Vorath have over 200 warships in our system. They are unmatched in this region of the galaxy." The human's face didn't waver. "I am aware of the Vorath Empire's typical capabilities. Please transmit the data. Our advance fleet will arrive within 12 hours. Chen out." The signal cut. Silence fell again. 12 hours? Varu echoed, stunned. "That's impossible. Even the fastest FTL routes would take 3 days from the nearest human outpost." "Maybe they had ships nearby?" Kira offered. "We'd have detected them," the defense minister objected. "No human vessels are on our scans." "It doesn't matter," Tellen snapped, renewed resolve in her voice. "Send the data. Every Vorath position. Every detail. If there's even a chance they're serious, they'll need it." The following hours blurred into chaos. Bombardments shook the bunker with increased fury. Systems flickered and failed. And through it all, Aryan officers scrambled to coordinate what little remained of their forces. Few truly believed aid would come. But the human message gave them focus, something more than despair to hold on to. When the proximity alarms wailed, most assumed it meant another Vorath wave. "New contacts," the sensor operator cried. "Massive energy spikes, multiple vessels, dropping out of FTL directly into the system." "Vorath reinforcements?" Tellen asked grimly. "No," the officer whispered. "Unknown design. They're behind the Vorath line, hundreds of them." The tactical map lit up with markers far more than expected. Not dozens. Hundreds. The ships were smaller than Vorath dreadnoughts, but vast in number. They moved in seamless unison, emerging like a single entity. "Their ID signatures are human," reported the comms officer. "And the Vorath fleet, wait, message incoming." "On screen," Tellen barked. Admiral Chen's face returned, still calm. But behind her eyes, Tellen saw something colder. "Chancellor Tellen, this is Admiral Chen of the Earth Expeditionary Fleet. We've arrived as promised and are engaging the Vorath. Direct all civilians to shelter in place. This will be over soon." Before anyone could respond, the feed switched, now broadcasting openly to all forces, Aryan and Vorath alike. Chen's voice hardened. "Attention, Vorath Fleet. I am Admiral Helena Chen of the United Earth Defense Force. You are conducting an unprovoked assault on a sovereign world. You will deactivate your weapons, withdraw your forces, and vacate this system. You have 5 minutes to comply. There will be no further warnings." Silence gripped the command center. "They can't be serious," Varu whispered. "The Vorath have never surrendered. Not to anyone." Tellen stared at the human fleet, its formation unlike anything she'd seen. Not the rigid rows favored by other powers, but fluid, shifting, alive. The Vorath reply came fast. "Unknown fleet. This is High Commander Vorax of the Vorath Empire. Your interference constitutes an act of war. Withdraw immediately or be obliterated, alongside the Aryan filth." Chen didn't reply. Instead, her fleet surged forward. Their formation shifted again. Organic. Coordinated. Then, the unthinkable occurred. A Vorath dreadnought erupted in white fire. Then another. And another. On the tactical display, human ships darted through space with uncanny precision, striking faster than the Vorath could react. "By the ancients," the defense minister whispered. What are we witnessing?" No one answered. They were watching the surgical dismantling of the galaxy's most feared navy. By humans, by a species most had dismissed as too new, too primitive. Now they understood why the humans had stayed silent for so long, why they hadn't shown their hand. And as more Vorath ships perished in blazing arcs, something unthinkable filled the bunker. Hope. Aboard the command ship of the Vorath Empire, Supreme Warlord Vorax stood frozen. In over 300 years of conquest, he had never tasted fear. He had subjugated 17 systems, extinguished dozens of species. The Vorath had reigned without challenge for ages. But now, technological dominance had long been the Vorath's defining trait, proven again and again across the stars. Yet, now aboard the command deck of his flagship Eternal Dominion, Supreme Warlord Vorax felt a sensation he had never known. Dread. It slid down his spine like frost. "Status," he barked, voice sharp as plasma fire. Outside, another Vorath dreadnought burst apart, a radiant blossom of superheated death. "We've lost 30% of the fleet, Supreme Warlord," his second-in-command rasped, mandibles twitching, in alarm. "These humans, they're not adhering to any known combat doctrine. Their ships too fast, too agile, their weapon systems—" An alarm shrieked. The tactical officer cut in, panic cracking his voice. "Multiple human vessels inbound. Attack vector confirmed. Energy signatures, weapon locks across the board." "Evasive maneuvers," Vorax roared. "Bring all weapons to bear," but it was too late. The Eternal Dominion, symbol of Vorath supremacy and veteran of 100 campaigns, was built for sheer force, not for speed. Before it could shift course, 3 human vessels, each barely a tenth its size, sliced through its defenses with uncanny grace. Vorax watched in growing disbelief as they moved across the display. Unfathomable, fluid, impossible. Point defense systems flared, trying to catch them, but the humans darted through the fire like phantoms. Their hulls reflected nothing, absorbing scans, masking profiles. Weapons fire found only void. And then, they struck. In the Aryan command bunker, Chancellor Tellin and his staff watched the scene unfold in a stunned silence, broken only by the hum of systems and quiet gasps. Relief, yes, but also a new kind of fear. Fear of what these humans truly were. "How?" Varu whispered, eyes wide. "Their technology. It's beyond comprehension." Kira shook her head slowly, absorbing the fleet maneuvers on the tactical feed. "It's not just technology," she said quietly. "Look at them. Look at how they fight. Coordination, adaptation, no wasted motion." Tellin's voice was low, grave. "They fight like they've done this before. Not once, not twice, but countless times." That thought weighed on them all. What kind of history had birthed such a force? What wars had forged these warriors? 3 hours after the first human vessel entered the system, the battle ended. The remnants of the once mighty Vorath fleet scattered into hyperspace, fleeing with whatever function remained in their shattered ships. On the surface, most ground forces surrendered without resistance, confronted by orbital strikes of surgical precision. When Admiral Chen's shuttle touched down outside the devastated Aryan capital, Chancellor Tellin stood waiting, flanked by his aides. The human admiral descended the ramp with calm poise. She was smaller than expected, physically unassuming, yet exuded a presence that silenced the air around her. "Chancellor Tellin," she greeted, nodding respectfully. "I'm relieved to find you alive. We feared we might have been too late." "Admiral Chen," Tellin replied, bowing slightly. "Your arrival was beyond miraculous. I have no words for what you've done for us." Chen's expression softened, just slightly. "No gratitude is necessary. We did only what any civilized power should when confronted with genocide." The unspoken accusation lingered, one aimed at the silent galaxy that had stood by. "Still," Tellin continued, "your people have saved ours. The Aryan people will not forget." If there is anything at all, we can offer. She raised a hand, gently stopping him. Earth doesn't ask for compensation in exchange for halting atrocities. But we would welcome diplomatic ties. I believe there's much we can learn from one another. As they walked together toward the bunker for formal talks, Kira found herself beside a young human officer. His uniform bore the name Lieutenant Park. "May I ask something?" she ventured. Park nodded, eyes scanning the skyline still lit by burning wreckage. "Your ships, your tactics, they're unlike anything we've ever seen in the galaxy. How did humanity achieve all this while staying hidden for so long?" The young man looked at her, then to the horizon. A flicker of something deep passed behind his gaze. "We had no choice," he said quietly. "We spent thousands of years at war with ourselves. Long before we left our homeworld, we fought. Constantly. Empires, ideologies, borders. Our history is fire and blood. We nearly destroyed ourselves more than once." He glanced upward, where Earth ships still maintained overwatch, glinting darkly against the stars. "When we finally unified, when we reached space, we hoped to find peace." His voice tightened. "Instead, we found empires like the Vorath. We recognized the signs too well. We'd lived through them. So, you prepared," Kira said softly. He nodded once. "We hoped for peace, but we trained for war. It's what we've always done." In the days that followed, the Aryan world saw something it had never known from an outsider: restoration. Human relief missions arrived almost instantly. Medical teams worked tirelessly through the ruins, treating thousands. Engineering corps restored water, power, and communication in days. The speed and precision of their aid was astonishing. Mechanized units constructing shelters, drones delivering supplies, and specialists coordinating logistics with terrifying efficiency. They were warriors, yes, but also healers, builders, survivors. And as the sun rose over a recovering Araxis, its people looked skyward, not with fear, but with wonder. The aftermath of the battle was almost as impressive as the military operation itself. News of the Vorath's defeat spread like wildfire across the galaxy, igniting a wave of panic and disbelief. Diplomatic channels buzzed with frantic communications, as species that had long relied on the stability of the galactic powers now found themselves reevaluating everything they thought they knew about the universe. In the Grand Council chamber of the Vorath Empire, Supreme Emperor Karo stood before the battered survivors of the Imperial Expedition Fleet, his fury as cold and biting as the vacuum of space. "You allowed primitives to defeat the Imperial Armada?" His voice seethed with venom. Vorax, the supreme warlord of the Vorath, lowered his head, struggling to contain his own humiliation. "They were not primitives, Divine Emperor," Vorax replied, his voice strained. "These humans, they fight, like nothing we've encountered before. Their technology, their tactics." Silence. The Emperor's roar echoed through the chamber, a primal sound that made the floor tremble beneath them. "The Vorath Empire does not accept defeat. We will gather our forces. We will crush these humans, and we will make an example of them. To the entire galaxy." The room fell into tense silence, but not for long. From the shadows, Grand Strategist Vex, oldest and wisest of the Emperor's advisors, stepped forward. "Divine Emperor." Vex spoke carefully, his voice calm, yet firm. "If I may, these humans deliberately allowed survivors to return. They could have annihilated our forces entirely, but they chose not to." The Emperor scoffed, his expression one of contempt. "Weakness." "Know your divinity," Vex countered, his tone resolute. "It was not weakness, it was a message. They wanted us to see what they were capable of. They wanted us to report their strength to the galaxy." The weight of Vex's words slowly settled over the council. The implications were undeniable. The humans had not merely intervened to save the Aryans. They had made a statement, an announcement to the galaxy, but more specifically to the Vorath Empire. "We are not merely saving the Aryans," Vex continued, his voice rising slightly. We are revealing ourselves. We are showing you the power of humanity and the price you will pay if you underestimate us. The room remained silent as the gravity of the situation hit home. The Vorath Empire, for the first time in centuries, had been humbled, and in that quiet moment, Karos's fury turned to something far more dangerous, an awareness of the new reality that had unfolded. Meanwhile, on Earth, far from the turmoil of Araxis, humanity quietly prepared. In secure underground facilities, the planet's diplomatic and military leaders gathered to analyze the aftermath of the conflict. We predicted their response, the Secretary General observed, his voice low. The Vorath will retaliate, it's only a matter of time. Admiral Chen, now seated at the head of the council table, nodded. We'll be ready, but more importantly, we've sent a message to the rest of the galaxy. Humanity will not tolerate genocide. Another council member leaned forward. What else, Admiral? What else does this mean for us? Chen's gaze swept the room, her voice unyielding. It means something more profound. The galaxy needs to understand this about us. Humanity is not what they believe us to be. She paused, letting the weight of her words hang in the air. Spent thousands of years divided, she continued, her tone resolute. Fighting one another, nearly destroying ourselves countless times. We learned our lessons in blood, through fire. When we finally reached the stars, we hoped to find wisdom greater than our own. Instead, we found the same patterns of domination, the same patterns of subjugation that nearly ended us. The same tyranny that runs through every empire, from the Vorath to the Zorath. She leaned forward, eyes locking with each person in the room. The galaxy needs to understand this about us. We are not conquerors. We are not empire builders. We will not subjugate those weaker than us. But we have seen enough tyranny in our history to recognize it, and we will not stand by while it spreads across the stars. News of the Battle of Araxis spread quickly across the galaxy, rippling through countless species. The once feared Vorath Empire, after a shocking defeat at the hands of humans, no longer held the same sway over the minds of those it once dominated. Species that had long lived in the shadow of the Vorath began to look toward Earth with fresh eyes. Where they had once feared the mighty Vorath, they now turned to the new power that had emerged, humanity. Diplomatic overtures poured in, trade proposals increased, new alliances began to form, cautiously at first, but steadily gaining momentum. Across the galaxy, a new phrase emerged in diplomatic circles, whispered in hushed tones at first. It spread quickly, gaining strength as it passed from one world to the next. Humanity stands. It began in the Aryan capital, a small but powerful phrase, one that embodied the growing recognition of humanity's role in the galaxy. But soon it became more than just a whisper. It became a rallying cry. Humanity had proved itself not as conquerors, but as something more dangerous. A species willing to stand against tyranny, to fight for the innocent, and to defend those who could not defend themselves. The message had been delivered, and the galaxy would never be the same again.